Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here. Today we're going to break down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, January the 27th. We're going to go through this six-game slate position by position. Do like we always do, build out an early core, 5 plays. Just before we do get started, guys, I do want to take a couple minutes to talk about the sad news that broke on Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. I am recording this video on Sunday night, so it is the same day that Kobe Bryant did pass away. Just tragic news that broke on Sunday. I was sitting on my computer just scrolling through Twitter at my apartment Sunday when the news broke, and I just couldn't believe it when I saw it. I didn't think it was real, and then I saw everyone else talking about it, and it just really hit somewhere where you don't want to be hit. I mean, just incredibly tragic news, especially as a sports fan like I am, and I'm sure as most of you are. When you play fantasy sports, when you follow sports your whole life like I've been doing, I mean, this news, it felt like I lost a family member seeing the news that Kobe Bryant had passed away in the helicopter crash. Felt like I'd lost a family member. I'd been just sad all day. Just hasn't felt the same today. It's definitely been sort of a depressing day, just kind of all around. I've been watching some games, watching the teams, run out the shot clock for 24 seconds. You can just see everyone around the world so sad. Whether you're a basketball fan or not, you probably knew who Kobe Bryant was. You knew that name. Even my girlfriend, I mean, she knows nothing about basketball, but she knows who Kobe Bryant is. We were talking about it earlier today, talking about the news. Just a crazy day, tragic day in sports, just in the sports world all around, especially as a big-time sports fan like I am, and like I said, as most of you are. I did want to talk about that. R.I.P. Kobe, just crazy news that broke Sunday. Just been a sad day overall, but we do have a slate to break down, and I do want to break down the slate. I did play on Sunday. I wasn't gonna play once the news broke. I was pretty sad. I didn't really want to play, but I had already had my entries in. The contests I was in were already full, so I really couldn't cancel my entries. So I did have to play Sunday. I'll be playing today though, just getting back to normal. We're gonna go through this six-gamer though, position by position. Just talk about the slate, like I said, like we always do. We'll look at DraftKings and Yahoo. Just before we do get started, guys, would appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. You can click that notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You can check out my Patreon content as well, link down below. Link down below is also my Twitter account if you want to follow me on Twitter. I would greatly appreciate it. But let's start off at point guard today. At the top, we do have Luka Doncic, most expensive point guard and most expensive player overall on the slate, $11,900 in a matchup against the Thunder. Now, I don't know if Luka is going to be a top priority for me on this slate. This is definitely going to be a slate where we do have a lot of value. We already know that Russell Westbrook is not going to play today. It is the second half of a back-to-back. It's the back end of a back-to-back for the Rockets. They played on Sunday. They're playing again on Monday. Russell Westbrook, it's already come out, the reports have already come out and said that he's going to rest today. And then James Harden was out Sunday, and then we've already gotten word that he's going to be doubtful for Monday. So both Harden and Westbrook are going to be out today, which is just going to open up a ton of value, which we will talk about later. So if you want to pay up for Luka, it will be pretty easy to do so. I think I like some of the other guys we have, though. I really like Towns at 10-3. I love this spot for Andre Drummond at 9,600. I think center is probably a position I'm going to be loading up on the stud plays. And given Harden and Westbrook are both out, that's going to open up value at guard. So I think today's probably a slate we want to go cheap at guard. And we will talk about those cheap options I do like. Obviously, you could go to Luka, though. I mean, this dude still has a ton of upside. Even with Porzingis back, he still has a 35% usage rate, still averages 1.6 fantasy points per minute. We know he's going to play huge minutes in competitive games. The guy's pretty much giving you a 45 to 50 point floor this season. Even on his bad games, you're still getting 50 DraftKings points from Luka. So can't go wrong with him. Just think I do prefer other guys today. In the mid-range, though, I have a feeling I'm going to be playing a lot of Rockets today, given all the value we have from that team. So running it back with someone like Donovan Mitchell definitely makes sense. The Rockets already, they're not the best defensive team. Looking at defensive rating this season, the Rockets are middle of the pack, 15th. Losing Westbrook and losing Harden, obviously that's going to hurt their offensive rating. In terms of defensive rating, though, and their offensive efficiency. In terms of defensive rating, though, I'd imagine that hurts their defense as well. So it is a pretty good spot for Donovan Mitchell. Pace-up spot. The Rockets do play really fast. Losing Westbrook and Harden is probably going to make them slow down a little bit. I don't think they're going to play nearly as fast as when those two guys are healthy. But still do like Donovan Mitchell in that mid-range at point guard if you want to go to him. Derrick Rose is in a really good matchup against the Cavs. I think I would prefer Mitchell, though, for a little bit more. Definitely would prefer De'Aaron Fox as well. Didn't mention Fox, but I do like him quite a bit at 8,100. The OKC guards you could look to today. We saw Gallinari was out Saturday. If he winds up out again, that is a little bit of a usage bump for all the guards. CP3, SGA, Schroeder, all these guys you could definitely consider. I'd probably rank them and how they are in terms of price. Like number 1 would be CP3, number 2 SGA, Schroeder 3. But if Gallinari's out, I do like all 3 guys. I do have some interest in all 3 guys. Shabazz Napier is pretty expensive on Draftkings, but I think on Yahoo he definitely stands out if you want to play him over there. He's $17 at point guard, coming off his first career triple-double, I believe. Yeah, his first career triple-double. Had 10, 10, and 13 on Saturday against OKC, 44 fantasy points. Don't expect a similar performance like that, but we know Napier's going to get the minutes with Jeff Teague no longer on the team. He has the potential to put up 30, 35 fantasy points, if not more, so I do have a little bit of interest in Napier. We're going to need to keep an eye on the status of Goran Dragic and Kendrick Nunn. Both of those guys are questionable heading into today. If they were to sit, I think Tyler Hero would become a really good value play. He's shooting guard, so we'll talk about him more when we get to there. But he would definitely be in play if those guys are out. Satoransky is coming off a big game, so you could look to him. Don't love him at 5,200, especially with the value we have at guard today. But I think he is in play. Bruce Brown, 4,700 as well. Really good matchup against the Cavs. First game back from injury. Played 36 minutes against Brooklyn. Had 31 fantasy points. Like I said, really good matchup. So you could definitely look to Bruce Brown at his salary. Dejounte Murray is incredibly cheap. It's a tough matchup against the Bulls, but his price has plummeted down to 4,500. We know this guy's not going to play huge minutes, but even in 26 to 28 minutes, he can easily go for 30-plus Draftkings points. He's a very productive point-per-minute player. Can give you over a fantasy point per minute. It isn't the greatest matchup, but his price has come way down on DraftKings. So I do have some interest in Dejounte Murray as well. Mike Conley, really cheap on DraftKings, still not getting a ton of minutes. Just since coming back from injuries, played like 15 to 20 minutes. It's hard to go to him at 4,100, even though he's really cheap. The minutes just aren't there right now. So until we see Conley play like 25 minutes, probably not going to go to him. I think we do need to talk about the value that we have here from the Rockets. So Austin Rivers, probably going to be one of the top value plays overall. Did not get priced up at all on DraftKings. He's still just 3,600 today. With Russell Westbrook out and James Harden doubtful, Austin Rivers, it should be a guy we target a ton on both sides. I mean, you can look at his numbers this season with Westbrook and Harden both off the floor. He's actually been relatively productive, averaging almost a fantasy point per minute. Has a 22.5% usage rate, averaging 0.91 fantasy points per minute with a 26% assist percentage. Rivers is going to be chalky, but he's a top value play for me, 3,600. I'm assuming he does start, and Eric Gordon gets a start as well. I like Rivers on Yahoo as well. He's $10 minimum salary. Top value play overall, and it's not even close. Going to be really chalky, but it's kind of hard to get away from him, given that DraftKings did not adjust his price. They still left him under 4K. Like if Rivers was like 5K, 5,500, it would be a little bit of a different story. I think you would definitely need to ask yourself, is he worth that salary? But at 3,600, I think you just lock in Rivers today. And then Chris Clemens, another guy I did want to talk about. So he did get recalled from the G League. He is with the team right now. We saw earlier this season when both Westbrook and Harden were out, Chris Clemens did have a monster game. I'm pretty sure it was this game, December 29th against the Pelicans. Played 34 minutes off the bench and had 35 DraftKings points. He was with the team in their game against, I can't remember who they played on Sunday. I think it was Denver. Yeah, they played Denver on Sunday. Chris Clemens actually did not play in that game. They ran an 8-man rotation. The guys that came off the bench were Cephalosha came off the bench, Daniel House came off the bench, and then Rivers. So those were the 8 guys they played. Obviously, those 3 guys and then the 5 starters. I assume Chris Clemens gets some minutes today, especially since Westbrook is going to be out as well. Harden was out Sunday, but Westbrook played. Now they're both going to be out today. So I think Chris Clemens does get minutes off the bench. He's been a very productive player this season when given the minutes. We saw when Westbrook and Harden were both out earlier this season, Clemens did get like 30 minutes off the bench. So it's still minimum 3K. I think taking a shot on him in tournaments makes a lot of sense. I don't think he's going to be popular at all, so I do like going to him as a value play. On Yahoo, he's also $10. I think I'd rather play Austin Rivers, especially like for cash games. I think you just lock in Austin Rivers. But both guys are so cheap, you could play both of them together. I could see a situation where both guys do go for 25 to 30 fantasy points and wind up being really good value plays at their salaries. If I have to choose one, I'm going to pick Rivers, but definitely going to have Chris Clemens in my player pool, and I'm going to get some exposure to him because there is 30, 35 point upside for him. If he gets even 20 to 25 minutes, he could obviously play more than that, though, given all the injuries to Houston right now. But let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard. Talk about this position. So Zach LaVine, most expensive option at 9,800. LaVine's really expensive today. I don't think he's going to be a top priority for me. I didn't play him Saturday. I only played one lineup on Saturday, and I didn't play LaVine, so that definitely came back to bite me. Had a monster game against the Cavs, 39 minutes, 72 DraftKings points at 9,200. Price is up to 9,800 on DK, so tough for me to prioritize him at that salary, especially when you have guys like Towns, Drummond, who are in that similar price range and are just more productive players overall. Like these guys average 0.2, 0.25 more fantasy points per minute than Zach LaVine. So don't think I'm going to be paying up for LaVine much. Same with DeMar DeRozan at 8,200. Don't love paying up for him on this slate. I like Mitchell in this mid-range if he plays, or not if he plays, but I do like Mitchell in this mid-range. Jimmy Butler you could target if he plays, 8K, especially if Dragic and Nunn are both out. Last game with Dragic and Nunn both out, Jimmy Butler did start at point guard, played 30 minutes against the Clippers, had 40 DraftKings points, contributed in all categories, had 28 and 7, nearly got a triple-double. It isn't the best matchup against the Magic, but I do expect the minutes to be there for Jimmy Butler. He is questionable as well, so obviously we need to keep an eye on that. Like if Butler, Dragic, and Nunn are all out, I mean, there's going to be a ton of value from Miami as well that I guess we could talk about as we go through each position. But I do like Mitchell and Butler. You could go to the OKC guys. SGA I do have some interest in, especially if Gallinari remains out. Eric Gordon, he's one of the few Houston guys that did see a big price bump up. He's 6,900 today on DraftKings. He was 5,300 on Sunday's slate against Denver. He played 35 minutes. He got the start with James Harden out, put up 28 DraftKings points. Now we're getting him without Russell Westbrook as well. And if you look at his usage, it is a very small sample size. He has played 53 minutes this season with both Harden and Westbrook off the floor. I don't expect these numbers to stay the same, but I mean, 39% usage rate, averaging 1.41 fantasy points per minute. Obviously, as you get more of a sample size with Gordon, playing without these guys, those numbers are going to come down. But it is good to see that he's been a very productive player this season with Westbrook and Harden off the floor. It's 6,900 on DraftKings. I mean, I can't pay that price tag for him, but Yahoo, he really stands out. They did not bump up his price. He's still very cheap at small forward, only $15. One of the top value plays overall on Yahoo today. Just lock him in. Easy value play. Even if the Rockets get blown out and score 90 points, there's a chance that still 2, 3, if not 4 of these guys all hit value because of how cheap they are, especially on Yahoo. All these guys are cheap. DraftKings, a couple of them got priced up. Gordon's one of them, so I don't have much interest in him, but you still have Rivers really cheap. We're going to talk about Daniel House later. He's still really cheap. You obviously have Chris Clemens at minimum salary. Those are probably the guys I'll be looking to target on DK today. But in the mid-range at shooting guard, Ben McLemore, another guy that got priced up, one of the few guys that did get priced up from the Rockets. He's up to 5,800 on DraftKings, so at that salary, I really have no interest in him. If you're going to play him, I think it's over on Yahoo where he's minimum salary, $10 at shooting guard. I think that's where I would go to play Ben McLemore. But then other shooting guards, Joe Ingles, 5,400, I have a little bit of interest in a pace-up spot against the Rockets. I think you could definitely go there in the mid-range. So Tyler Hero, going to be a guy I keep my eye on today. With Goran Dragic and Kendrick Nunn both out last game, Tyler Hero did play 40 minutes. Wasn't very productive, only had 25 DraftKings points, but he played massive minutes, and I would expect that to be the case if both those guys remain out, just because the Heat really have no other guys they can turn to in the backcourt. Hero pretty much had to play as much as he could handle. He got an 8-minute break, he got 8 minutes on the bench out of 48 minutes. He played 40 of 48 minutes. So Hero is going to be a really good value play. I expect he pays off this salary if he's going to continue to get the massive minutes, which he should. And if Jimmy Butler would wind up out, I mean, that would just be even more usage, even more opportunity for Tyler Hero. If all 3 of those guys are out, if Butler, Nunn, and Dragic are all out, Tyler Hero probably becomes a core play on both sides. He's still really cheap on Yahoo as well. I think $13 at shooting guard. But I think that's it for this position in terms of cheap value plays. I think Chris Clemens is shooting guard eligible, if I'm not mistaken. Or he's actually not. I think Rivers you can play as shooting guard, though. Yeah, you can play Rivers at shooting guard, so I guess you could talk about, or we could mention him, but that's probably it for this position. Let's go ahead and move on to small forward now. So looking at small forward, talking about guys I haven't already mentioned, not really much at the top I like DeRozan, not really going to go there. I mean, Jimmy Butler's in play for me, especially if Dragic and Nunn are both out and Butler plays. I do like him at 8K. Gordon I don't really want to go to, though. Wiggins I don't love at his salary. Gallinari I'm not that interested in. So just looking in this 5K range, really not much that stands out here besides the guys I've already talked about, like Joe Ingles you could look to. I don't want to play Ben McLemore at his salary since he's so expensive. I think small forward's probably a position I'm going to be looking for value today. We do have some potential value here. Obviously, Bruce Brown's a guy you could look to, assuming he continues to start and get the minutes. Really good matchup against the Cavs. I think he's in play at 4,700. If Jimmy Butler were to be out, then Derrick Jones Jr. at 3,900 could definitely be in play. But Daniel House is the guy that I do want to hit on. 3,900 on DraftKings. We saw him have a decent game Sunday with James Harden out, played 27 minutes off the bench, had 27 DraftKings points, was pretty productive. I'd assume he's going to continue to come off the bench, but I assume he plays more than 27 minutes today. We're probably going to get like 30 to 32 minutes from Daniel House, if not more. This season, his numbers don't look that great with both Westbrook and Harden off the floor. Only 0.67 fantasy points per minute in 97 minutes with those guys off the floor, just 17% usage rate. But the Rockets just really have no other healthy bodies. They're going to run a tight rotation. They're going to give these guys big minutes. I think Daniel House is the top value play today. Very similar to Austin Rivers. He's one of the guys that did not get priced up, whereas guys like Gordon, McLemore, those guys are really expensive today. We have both Rivers and House really cheap. Rivers and House are also really cheap on Yahoo. House is $11. I think playing him and Gordon together makes plenty of sense. I think you can definitely do that given how cheap both guys are. So I do like going to them as value plays as well. We saw Dion Waiters have a really good game last game with both Dragic and Nunn out. He did get some minutes. First time he's actually played this season, like it was a season debut. Finally got some minutes, played 18 minutes off the bench and had 25 DraftKings points. Dion Waiters has always been a productive player when given minutes, so I think the minutes will be there if Dragic and Nunn are both out again, and especially if Jimmy Butler's out again. Dion Waiters would potentially be one of the top value plays on the slate, so did want to mention him as well at 3,500. Let's go ahead and move on to power forward now. So at the top of the power forward position, you got Kevin Love, Kristaps Porzingis, LaMarcus Aldridge at the top here. I do really like LaMarcus Aldridge in this matchup against the Bulls. I think this is a smash spot for him. We know how good this matchup is, just in terms of like offensive or defensive rating, like versus centers and power forwards. If you look at any sort of DVP stats, the Bulls have been really bad against power forwards and centers this season. And if you look at rebound percentage, they are one of the worst rebounding teams in the league. They do rank 28th in rebound percentage. This is a spot where we could see LaMarcus Aldridge put up a big double-double, kind of like he did against the Pelicans, where he had 32 and 14. I really like him on today's slate. I like some of the expensive centers, so it is tough to get to him on Yahoo. Like, I really like Drummond, really like Towns. Obviously, you can only play two centers on Yahoo. Aldridge is a center on Yahoo, which sucks, but on DraftKings, where he does have power forward eligibility, I do like LaMarcus Aldridge quite a bit at 7,200, and he would definitely be one of my favorite power forwards to pay up for today. I'm assuming Bagley remains out. I'm not sure if we have... Okay, he is out, so with Bagley out, with Rashawn Holmes still out, I do like Nemanja Bjelica quite a bit at 6,500. I think he is definitely in play today. In the mid-range, not much really stands out here. Like, Larry Nance has been really productive lately, been getting solid minutes, getting about 24 to 28 minutes a night. If you're going to play him, I think you probably want to do it on Yahoo, where he's still really cheap. It just sucks that he is center on Yahoo, so you're going to be using up one of your potentially two center spots. He's still really cheap, though, at $13, so if you're going to play Nance, I think I'd do it on Yahoo. On DraftKings, where he's up to over 5K, 5,400. Probably don't want to go to him at that salary, especially given that we have some other value that looks really good today. Speaking of value that does look good, Thaddeus Young, I've been on him a lot lately, especially the last two games. He has been really chalky the last two slates. He's played 29 and 35 minutes against the Kings and against the Cavs, 26 and 24 DraftKings points. He is starting at power forward now that Lauri Markkanen's out and going to be out for like the next 4 to 6 weeks. I know he hasn't been that productive lately, but I still like going to Thaddeus Young at his salaries. He's still really cheap, especially on DraftKings. We can look at his numbers this season. He's been close to a fantasy point per minute player. Just this season, we can take a look at it real quick. I'm pretty sure it's like 0.92 maybe fantasy points per minute, but I'm not exactly sure. or actually 0.88 fantasy points per minute this season for Thaddeus Young. Obviously not like a high usage player, but still he's a guy that can get rebounds, he can score a little bit, he can kind of contribute in all categories, he can pick up defensive stats. If you've been a fan of like DFS, if you've played DFS the last few years, you know that Thaddeus Young was a guy that always picked up a lot of defensive stats when he was with the Pacers. I mean, not much has changed this season. Can get like 2, 3, potentially 4 stocks a game. So I like him as a value, especially on DraftKings where he's only 4,900. I think he does stand out as a really good value play again. He did get priced up quite a bit on Yahoo. He's up to $18, so I'm much less interested over there, especially given all the value we have at like guard and small forward. Probably don't need to go to Young on Yahoo, but on DraftKings, definitely like him at 4,900 as a value play. PJ Tucker you could look to. I don't think his role is going to change much with Westbrook and Harden out. We know he's going to play huge minutes, but he's not much of a productive player. He's not going to score much. He's going to contribute with rebounds and like stocks. If you get like 4 stocks from PJ Tucker and like 8 rebounds like you did against Denver on Sunday, then he'll probably be pretty good for his salary. But this is just not a guy that I play, especially if he's going to be chalky. Like if PJ Tucker is going to be really popular, I'll just look elsewhere. I'll play the other guys from Houston. I did want to mention him though because I think he is in play just given the massive minutes he's going to play. With no Westbrook, with no Harden, I don't think that like hurts him, but I don't think it helps him a ton. Maybe he's able to get up a couple more shots. But we know what Tucker does. He's a rebounder, or he's a guy that can rebound. He can get like 8 to 10 rebounds. He's a really good defender. He can pick up stocks. Really doesn't do much more than that though. But yeah, I think that's probably it for power forward. So let's go ahead and talk about center now. Center definitely a position I want to spend up at today, especially given all the value we have from the Rockets at guard and forward. Center is a position you're gonna have salary to pay up, and I think Towns and Drummond definitely stand out as the top 2 options for me by far. So we'll start off with Towns. I love him as a spend up option today. 10,300 on DraftKings, over on Yahoo, pretty affordable at $46. So since coming back from injury, just the last few games, Towns has kind of looked like himself after he got off to a kind of a slow start since coming back from injury. Had 2 like slowish games, I guess, against Indiana and Toronto. 34 and 29 DraftKings points, played 27 and 28 minutes in those 2 games. But just the last 4 games, we've seen Towns look like himself, getting at least 28 minutes in all 4 of those games. In the game against Houston where he got 28 minutes, I'm pretty sure he lost minutes in that game because of foul trouble. He's still been really productive though, 50, 51, 54, and 64 DraftKings points. People may have forgotten, but this is like one of the more productive players in the league in terms of fantasy point per minute average. Like Towns has been a monster this season. If you were playing DFS at the beginning of the season, like Towns was a guy we were paying over 10K for every night, and we were arguing like he might still be too cheap at like 10.5. Like he should be an 11K, 11.5 player almost every night. I mean, the guy's averaged 1.55 fantasy points per minute this season, nearly a 30% usage rate, 21% assist percentage, nearly an 18% total rebound percentage. Against the Kings, I think Towns can have a lot of success in this matchup. Whether it's Dwayne Dedmon, Nemanja Bjelica, Harry Giles defending Towns, I mean, he should be able to dominate against all those guys. So I really like Karl-Anthony Towns today as one of the top pay-up options on this slate. And Andre Drummond, I love as well against the Cavs. 9,600 on DraftKings, $49 on Yahoo. Like I said, I'm spending at center today. I think that's the route I'm going to be taking. So on DraftKings and Yahoo, where you can play 2 centers, I like doubling down at the position. Really like this spot for Andre Drummond as well. I mean, he just kills the Cavs, it seems like. He's played them 3 times this season. He's averaged almost 61 DraftKings points per game against them. I know he's played them twice just in their last 10 games. Played them January 1st, and then they played again January 9th. Had 61 DraftKings points and then had 62 DraftKings points. And I think that when they played like at the beginning of the season, Drummond had like 58 DraftKings points. So the dude just dominates the Cavs. It makes sense. The Cavs are not a good defensive team. In terms of defensive rating, they're towards the bottom of the league. They're 29th, second to last. This is going to be a slow-paced game, but these are 2 pretty bad defensive teams. I think Drummond can have a lot of success in this matchup. We know he's going to play massive minutes, and he's still too cheap on DraftKings. I mean, without Blake Griffin, this is a guy that's going to put up 50-plus DraftKings points most nights, if not more. He should be 10K, if not close to 11K, especially in this matchup against Cleveland. So, love Andre Drummond, love Karl-Anthony Towns. Definitely going to be paying up for both those guys on today's slate. Those are 2 of my favorite spend-up options. There are other centers you could look to, like you do have Gobert. Adebayo, Vooch you could go to, but I think I'm definitely going to be prioritizing Towns and Drummond at this position. Even with Westbrook and Harden both out, I don't think that's going to impact Clint Capella a ton. We can look at his numbers this season. It's going to be a very small sample size. I know he has been really productive, and the numbers do look really good with Westbrook and Harden off the floor, but I honestly think taking those guys off the floor, honestly might hurt Clint Capella. Obviously, Clint Capella is not a guy that's going to create his own shot. He's going to live under the basket. He can get offensive putbacks and stuff. He gets lobs from Harden and Westbrook. That's kind of where he does his damage, but 21 minutes this season, so incredibly small sample size, just 21 minutes. He's averaged nearly 2 fantasy points per minute with Westbrook and Harden off the floor, but I don't expect that to be a sustainable rate, especially since it's such a small sample size. As we get more of a sample size with Capella playing without these guys, those numbers are obviously going to come down. I'd say Capella's probably gets a small boost with those guys off the floor, but not enough of a boost to where I want to play him at 8,500 today, especially in a tough matchup against the Jazz. I'll be avoiding Clint Capella on today's slate. If people are going to chase him, I'll just look to the other centers. I'd rather play Drummond. I'd rather play Towns. I'd rather save salary and play a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge. So I don't really like Capella, even though Harden and Westbrook are both out. I don't really have a ton of interest in Clint Capella today. Tristan Thompson, I think, is a fine option in this mid-range. His minutes haven't been massive these last few games, just 21 and 28 minutes, which is a bit of a concern. With how well Larry Nance has played off the bench, they have been giving Nance quite a bit of minutes, but the price has come down on Tristan Thompson. He's also had a lot of success in this matchup, very similar to Andre Drummond. He's averaged 43 DraftKings points per game against the Pistons. When they played the 7th and the 9th, 35 DK points, 65 DK points. And Detroit, they've been getting killed by centers recently. Drummond has been a terrible defender recently. He's never been that good of a defender just throughout his career, but as of late, really been struggling on the defensive end. So I do have some interest in Thompson in tournaments. I think he will be probably low owned today. Willie Cauley-Stein, want to talk about him. Not sure if he's going to play today. He's not available Saturday against the Jazz. He did get traded to the Mavericks, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Mavericks use Willie Cauley-Stein if they give him big minutes. I assume they will, given no Dwight Powell. He's probably going to be the starting center and going to get 25 to 30 minutes most nights. This will probably be a wait and see for me, but if Willie Cauley-Stein plays really well Monday, if he does play against OKC, he'll be someone I'll be keeping my eye on throughout the season. I think he could be a pretty productive player with Dallas, especially if the minutes are there. Playing with Luka, maybe Luka is able to help him more offensively than when he was with Golden State. Just really wasn't, when Willie Cauley-Stein was with Golden State, he just wasn't able to produce a ton on a nightly basis. Was pretty inconsistent. The minutes were inconsistent. I think that could definitely change and turn around now that he's on a new team. But I think that's it for center, guys. PJ Tucker you could play as well, but like I said, if he's going to be chalky, I'll probably be avoiding that. So I think that's it for center, and I think we covered everything for today's video, guys, for Monday 6-game slate. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I do appreciate you watching. If you took the time to watch the whole video, I thank you very much for that. I know these videos can be pretty long, can be kind of drawn out sometimes, but I do want to try and give you guys as much information and as much analysis in these videos as I can. So if you enjoyed, drop a like and I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. Click that notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. If you haven't yet, you can follow me on Twitter as well. Link down below is my Twitter account. Also, link down below is my Patreon. If you do want to see all the exclusive content I have to offer over there, you can definitely check out my Patreon link down below. Get access to my article, my updated core plays, and get in our Discord chat. I do post a lot of NBA content over on Patreon Monday through Friday. But anyways, guys, good luck tonight. R.I.P. Kobe. It's a sad day on Sunday. It's going to be kind of a sad day on Monday. I'm sure you're going to see a lot of tributes and stuff for Kobe on these games. I know the Lakers play on Tuesday night against the Clippers, so that's going to be a really sad game to watch, or just sad game overall. But yeah, guys, good luck today. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.